Hi, this is Linny and welcome to my free online class for February-March 2025. Just before I start, if you can hear a slight buzzing in the background, it is my little mini desktop fan. I have got it turned down really low and I have checked the noise that it makes on the video, so hopefully it's not too distracting for you. I tested it and it seemed okay when I replayed the video, but yes, you will hear just a slight buzzing. Okay, so let's get started. For this class, I'm using the Thank You Kindly kit from Stampin' Up. As you can see, this is a black and white kit and it's a non-stamping kit, so all these greetings are pre-printed for you. So if you're doing this class, that means you've already purchased either this kit from me or something to equivalent value, so thank you very much. But I'm going to quickly run through these instructions. I'm not going to put the cards together as they are. I'm just going to quickly run through how the instructions work in case you are new to Stampin' Up kits. But the purpose of this class is to show you what other things you can do with this kit. The great thing about black and white is you are only limited by your imagination. You can add as much colour or as many other elements as you like if you don't want to keep it to the strict black and white, and also gold, as you'll see shortly, and as you will have noticed in your kit, there are lovely gold foil elements in this kit as well. All right, so let's pull out our box. Now I have already opened my box, so my kit will look a little bit different to yours just because I've unpacked everything. And what I like to do when I unpack a kit is I like to separate all the elements and place them in little baggies, or at least separate them so that I know exactly what's where and it's just easy to grab and get crafting. So you will notice that you have a couple of sheets of circle, pre-cut circle pieces. Right, so you've got 2 sheets of those. Now, I would say don't throw these away. I'm not going to throw mine away because one of the other pieces that had the leaves in them, I'm actually using today as a stencil. So you can use any of these as stencils, so hang on to those. So then you had your leaf stencils and pop out die cuts, and that's what they looked like with the lovely gold foiling on there. So we will be using those today. And you had these rectangle pieces as well, and you had the flower pieces which came in these sheets here. Okay, so another great stencil to use for another card at another time. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my pieces all separated into little baggies there. So I recommend you do that just to make it easier to start crafting. And then you have the 2 sheets, they're identical sheets of greetings, and you've got other languages in those sheets as well. So if you don't need those other languages, you can always use the reverse. And you can do some lovely gold embossing, stamping and embossing on the reverse of those greetings. So don't throw away those other language ones. I will be making some thank yous today, but I also have need some other greeting cards. So I will be doing that with some of mine. And then you have the base note cards. So they are lovely thick white note cards that are pre-scored. And then the lovely matching envelope. So you get 8 of everything. There's enough. There are, as you can see, there are 2 card designs, and there are enough supplies to make 4 of each design. So those envelopes are gorgeous too. And as you look at your kit, you'll notice that some of the pieces have this beautiful texture on it. So they're not just a flat white, which is really lovely. And what I also like to do with my kit base cards, with any kit, I like to cut them in half, because then you can mount these pieces onto another card base and extend your kit even further and get more, be able to make more double the cards with the supplies that you're given, or by adding other supplies like we're going to do today. All right, like I said, I'm going to quickly go through the instructions and just explain how they do. This is how Stampin' Up! Do all of their kits. So first of all, they give you the supplies that are included for each card design. So design number 1 uses these elements, and design number 2 uses these elements. So another thing I like to do is, after I've separated all my pieces, is to bundle them together into each card design. So that just, again, makes it more helpful and quicker when you start putting your card together. And then as we go through the instructions, so they start with card number 1, and they will show you which elements and where to put adhesive, because also included in the kit is any adhesive you will need. So this particular one has given you a roll of tear and tape, as well as the Stampin' Up! The dimensionals, the foam dimensionals. So you can clearly see here they're saying to put tape on these pieces, and then they're telling you to use the dimensionals for the greetings. Now, obviously, you can put whatever adhesive you like on these. I'm actually going to be popping up some bits that they're not telling me to pop up. So it's purely just to get you started, to show you what their idea was for the kit, and then you can take it from there. And then they show you the rest, where to place all the elements to get your finished card. And then they do the same for card number 2. Okay, so they're very simple directions, but I am going to just put those to one side. So very quickly, we'll get out one card base. And because they are pre-scored, they're lovely to, very easy to fold in half, and just get your bone folder or something to give that a really good crease. If you're not used to knowing which way to fold your cards when they've been pre-scored, you will notice that one side of the score line has a lump and one side is depressed. So the rule of thumb is to fold it with the lumpy piece on the inside. So we just refer to that as the mountain and the valley. So we fold the mountain to the inside, and that gives you the best result. It's not the end of the world if you fold it the other way. It just gives you the best folded result. So for card number 1, I'm just really quickly going to lay the elements down that they have said. I'm not going to stick anything on because I'm not going to be making any of my cards as they tell me to. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you're watching from. So they're making this card as in a landscape format rather than portrait, and they are laying this textured rectangle piece down in the middle. Then they are getting the flower pieces. Now you will notice with these flower pieces that the middle one actually has some pieces that are partially cut through. So what I'm going to be doing later is giving that just a little bit more dimension. So you'll see me do that later. But they are saying just to stick those two pieces on flat. And if you follow the instructions, you can see where they have placed that centerpiece. It's not a strict rule. I mean, it's not like it doesn't fit in other spots, but if you follow where they have placed it, that probably looks the best. So they've got that piece, and they've also got one of these leaf pieces underneath. Now that piece, it is a good idea to turn that around and follow where they have said to place it, which is, it's got this bit hanging down in this corner, because otherwise it may not fit on the card properly, and it may not look the best when you're layering the flower over the top. So let's just pretend that I've stuck all that down, and the flower, so that we can see those leaves sticking out, is placed about there by the looks of it. Just that way a little bit. And then they have taken their greeting, their thank you greeting, and they have popped it over here. So that is what your card would look like if you made it as is the kit. Now that's really pretty. I love all the gold details on that. And I also think these would make a really nice wedding or engagement or congratulations card, a anniversary or something like that. Actually, even a sympathy card, they make a beautiful sympathy card, and unfortunately I do have a couple of those to make, so I'm going to be using this kit for that. So as I said, that was just an example, so we will put those to one side, put them back in my little piles that I have. And I'm going to get started on, I won't show you the other one because you get the idea. But I'm going to get started on my first card. So for this one, I'm going to be using the large flower piece, that particular card that uses this piece. But instead of using this one underneath, I'm actually going to grab that stencil that I showed you at the beginning of the video, and I'm going to sponge that leaf shape over straight onto the base of my card. So just because I'm using a glass mat, and which is quite slippery, and I'm going to bring in some paper just so it's it doesn't slip around as much, and I'm going to use some tape as well just to tape that down. I might even open the card back up again, I think. All right, now I need to work out, I need to look at my picture again because I want to look at that best placing for sponging the leaves, just so that I get that in the most helpful spot. So let's have a look. Okay, looks like that way. Here we go. Yep, that looks right. So I'm just going to fiddle with that a little bit before I tape it down. So you see, if I turn this the wrong way, it's actually not going to fit on my card properly. So I need to make sure that everything's fitting on the card base nicely, and I think that looks about right. So I'm going to get my tape, and I'm going to be using a lovely soft green, as you can see, that because I've been, oops, sorry about that, playing around with this stencil already. So I'm going to tape that down there. Gosh, knocking things over everywhere. Tape it down there, which will also tape the base card to my paper as well. And one more just over here, I think. Just so that that doesn't move around too much. Okay, and for this I'm going to use soft sea foam, a lovely soft green, and I'm going to get my blending brush. If you don't have blending brushes, you could, that's not sticking very well, I'll get another piece of that. It's the end of that roll. You can use sponge daubers, you can use, any kind of sponge. But with the blending brushes, just excuse me for a minute, I'm just going to grab my bin. Forgot to move it closer to me before we started. If you've never used blending brushes before and you want to, you are better off to start with just a little bit of ink at a time, and always tap on your grid paper first. Now this is a very pale colour, which makes it easier to not get a blotchy mark. And I've got to be very careful. In fact, I'm going to put another piece of tape just across here, because when I was practicing this, I actually went off accidentally onto the card and made a little bit of a mess. So we're just adding colour really gradual. Now you probably can't even see that there's any colour on there yet, and that's okay. It is, as I say, a very pale colour. We're not really worried about the central piece because you're not going to see that. So no need to focus on that too much. But I don't want these leaves to be particularly dark. You can add as much colour as you want, or a different or a darker green if you prefer it darker. But that is the trick with blending brushes, to start off your card, so in this case on the scrap paper, and bring it in, and that will stop any blotchy bits from going where you don't want them to go. Now there's another, need to be careful here too, because there's another piece of card just sticking out the end there, so I'll just be extra careful there. Now I have actually accidentally covered up the tip of that leaf, so I just need to move that bit of tape. This is really relaxing doing this, so I hope you've got some supplies that you can try this with, and then we can always go back and add more colour as we think is necessary, or as we want. Make it look the way we want it to look. Now, if I just lift that up a little bit, we can have a look and see how that's looking. So I have made a little bit of a mark there, a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. It'll probably get covered up anyway, but there you go. It just goes to show, even when I tried to be careful, I wasn't careful enough. So let's just cover that bit there. Alright, so I'll add a little bit more, but I'm reasonably happy with how that's turning out for what I want anyway. And if you are looking for blending brushes, I love these ones that Stampin' Up brought out. They're a lovely quality, and I think they come in a pack of 3. I think they also, you can get big ones or little ones, and I think they both come in a pack of 3, but if you're interested in them, let me know and I'll double check that for you. And just keep adding and adding and adding, but I think I'm going to be happy with that. Yep, I certainly am. So there we go. Oh, and I've smudged up there too. Oh, there you go. All right, we'll see what we can do to cover that up later. Okay, close that ink pad up. Now I'm going to take that paper off too. I don't need that at the moment. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do for this card is, so I'm not going to be adding this piece at all. So I can save that for another card. I can do anything with that. So it's definitely not going to go to waste. But I wanted to die cut some other leaves to go under that. So I've already die cut those. And just excuse me for a minute while I get the set that I used. I had it right next to me, but it was back over at my die cutting machine. I used the Thoughtful Wishes dies, which has a matching stamp set, but I'm just using the dies today, and I'm using this beautiful die cut. So it's got lots of lovely other leaf images and flower images that match that stamp set. So I have already gone ahead and die cut those leaves. And I die cut them in 2 different colours. So the first colour is the same as the ink that I put on, that I sponged on. So that is soft sea foam cardstock. And what I did was cut them in half so that I can split them, pull them out. And then I die cut a darker green as well, which is garden green. I thought that would make a lovely contrast. So now it's just a matter of playing. What I might do is I will actually attach my flower together before I put the leaves on, because I'll be playing around with wanting to see where I want the leaves to go, and I'll be moving the flower backwards and forwards. So I'm just going to stick the flower to the top bit to the bottom bit. And once again, I'm going to get those instructions out. But now this is where I told you about those bits that are slightly cut out. So instead of the dimensionals that they've given me, oh yeah, I can cut them in. I can cut them up. That's all right. I've also got some mini dimensionals, but I might just cut these ones up. So you can cut your dimensionals to be any size you like. And we also have mini ones, which are really handy too. So the bits that I want a bit popped up is this piece here. So I'm going to put one dimensional behind him, and probably this piece down here, this skinny piece here. I'll put one behind him. And maybe even this little piece here. So I'll just cut another one in half. Making sure I've got the right bit. Put that up there. And then all the other pieces I'll put glue on, and so that'll make some of it pop up and some of it glue flat, just to give it a little bit more dimension. And there are, just be aware, because there's little slits cut in these, just don't use too much. If you're using wet glue, just be careful where you place it and not to use too much of it. I particularly like using this Tombow liquid glue. It's my go-to glue for just about everything. But you do need to use it very sparingly. So once again, consulting my picture as to where to place this guy. Just take your time. And I'm thinking about there. There we go. So because some of those, I've popped some of those pieces up, I just need to, even though that Tombow liquid glue is a really strong glue, it will be wanting to lift up because these pieces are lifted up. So I'm just going to give that a few extra seconds to really make sure that the flat bits are stuck flat. And there's my little bits that are popped up. So I think that looks really cute. All right, so I've got my flower ready to go, and I just like to use tweezers just to hold things like that while I'm fiddling around with other elements. So what I'm thinking is something like that, but I don't want that hanging off the card, so I might have to move that bit, maybe move that bit up there. So this is the bit that can be a little time consuming, but it's worth it to get the result that you want. I do have some white space down here, but I actually don't mind white space. So you can see that sponging that I did of the other leaves, even though I'm putting these die cuts over the top, they're just over the top of parts of it. They're just very subtly coming through. So you can still see some of them, so I'm not covering up all of them. And I'm going to move these ones further out so they're a bit more exposed. Yeah, and I think I'm happy with that. I've still got this this splodge over here. I'm wondering if I completely change this, whether I can detract from that a bit. I did want the dark green and the light green to be really close together, unless I put my flower. This is the time consuming bit. What if I put my... No, look, I just think I need to accept that this is a handmade card and there's a blooper on it. So let's just go with that. Let's go with the blooper. I can still put that up there if I want. Actually, this piece has got a bit more busyness on it. The two ends aren't identical. Actually, that will work better. Yep. Yep, that is awesome. And then that bit may be about there. No, that doesn't look right. Yeah, that's okay. And I'll put these pieces back over here. Which way am I going to put my flower? That way, I think. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, let's go with that. All right, now I'm going to flip this flower over and I'm going to get some of that tear and tape. And I'm just going to put tape across in a few spots because I want this tape to pick up all those leaves when I and I'll press it down on top of them. So that a bit of a rub down. I like to use my take your pick tool to get that double-sided tape backing removed. I just find my fingernails just don't work for that. If you've got nice long fingernails, you might be able to do that. All right, I'm going to get my tweezers back and just make sure that I've got that in the spot that I want it, which I think is about there. And if I push that down without being too hard, so I don't want it to stick to the card base, I just want it to pick up those leaves. Let's see. Okay, it hasn't picked up that one, so I'll just pick that up, flip that over, and now I can get some more tear and tape and put on top of all of that. I just find that an easy way of being able to pick up elements when you don't want them to move. I'll just put another bit across there, and that makes sure everything is well and truly stuck down. But I am going to put some more dimensionals on the back of this whole piece so that the whole piece will be popped up. Oh, that didn't. There we go. That one just needs to go back down there. Okay. So instead of little dimensionals, because this is quite a big area, and I actually need to make sure that all that sticky tape area is covered, I'm going to use some larger foam adhesive sheet, and I'm just going to cut the pieces the size I want them. So I'll have a bit that goes across there, which needs to be about that wide, and then that bit can go in the middle, and then I'll have another bit go across the bottom. I'm a bit of an adhesive, I would much rather over stick things than not have enough. So you might not want to use this much, but as I say, I just want to make sure there's none of that sticky exposed. And actually, I might just cut another skinny piece to go across the middle there, just to cover that. So this is really handy stuff too, I find. So it's exactly the same as the dimensionals. It is a little bit thicker than, it does have a little bit more thickness as well, so it gives you some nice extra height. And obviously you can cut it up to be the shape and size you need it, particularly when you want bigger pieces. Get rid of my rubbish. All right. Take those backings off. Now the question now is, do I want some gold twine to go under there, which I think I do. So I'm just going to bring my silicone mat in so that I can sit that on there without it sticking. And I've got this lovely gold metallic thread. It does have another name. I think it's gold twisted thread or something like that. And I just want a couple of bits to come out from the bottom there. So that's probably enough. I'll be using that on a lot of the cards today. So once again, got that. And I place that down here somewhere. Just manipulate that a little bit. To do what I want it to do. It's going to be there or there. Got two gaps down here, but I don't want to put, yeah, that's the spot. That looks better than the other spot. Okay, well, I think I'm ready to stick that down. So again, I'm just going to get some of that tear and tape while that's sitting in position. I'm just going to stick that, but I'm not going to pull the back off it because I don't need that to stick to this piece. I can still manipulate that if I want to make any of those loops a bit bigger. And no, that made that smaller. Hang on. That one too. And I want this one. There we go. That I think is about right. Right. And well, nothing's hanging off my card. 1, 2, 3. Down we go. Let's give that a gentle press. Okay, so we haven't put our greeting on yet, but that card is done. And I love how that looks with the sponging underneath the leaves and then the die cut leaves over the top. And actually that little smudge there doesn't look too bad. So, all right. So I will put a thank you, one of those thank you sentiments on that because I also need a few of those. I'm going to put my thank you over here, so in a slightly different spot than they had it. But let me just have a quick look. Yeah, they had it here. I just want to put mine down there. I think that'll look quite nice. So because most of that is going to be on top of this flower piece that's already got lots of dimension on it, I really only need dimension under here. And because I've already used this thicker stuff, I don't want to now use normal dimensionals because then there'll be different thicknesses. So what I will do is just cut this into thinner pieces. So I'll just double check that again. So I want strip across the bottom here. And I think I just need a little bit in that top corner. So just a little bit of that. In that top corner. Like so. I just need a little bit more there. Another. Just need to make that bit a bit longer. There we go, and I can feel now that those bits that are hanging off are really nicely supported. And then I'll just dab a little bit of liquid glue onto the end of that. That's going to be on the flower. That's all we need. So you don't need much of that liquid glue. A little bit goes a long way. It's like Pex paste. And there we go. Perfect. Okay, card number 1 done. So I hope you like that one. But like I said at the start, these are all completely open to your imagination and taste and, yeah, whatever you want to make it. So I'll put that one to the side. Okay, I'll make one more of that flower design, and then I might actually do this video in 2 parts. I didn't mention that at the start, did I? Because we've already been going for 48 minutes. So I'll do one more, and then we'll have we'll have a break, and I'll come back with part 2. So I'll get it. Oh, sorry, I just bumped the camera. Sorry for the jiggling. I'll just grab another card base. Okay, and for this one we can make portrait or landscape. It is another one using that large flower, and this time I am going to be using that leaf piece. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to sponge some colour onto the flower. All right, and as well as that, instead of using this square piece, which would normally go underneath this, like that, I have actually cut some other pieces the same size as this, and I'll tell you how big that is, but you can measure the one that you've got in your kit. It's 8.5 centimetres by 11.5 centimetres. So I cut a few just out of different coloured cardstock, and I ran them through different embossing folders so that we can get a different effect, a different way of adding colour and a different effect. So the first one I did it again in that soft sea foam colour. That's the soft sea foam cardstock, and I ran it through this embossing folder. It's called Mini Corrugated 3D embossing folder, and I thought that was a lovely effect. And when you layer the leaves and the flower on top of that, and I will be adding some gold twine as well. Even the flower without colour on it looks beautiful. I also did a piece of black, which is really dramatic. This is a different embossing folder. It's a new one called, these are both new ones actually. This one's called Soft Waves. So you can use it that way. Looks like waves, but this way to me looks a bit more like wood grain or a leafy kind of pattern. So you can use that, which looks fantastic with the black. And I also did a piece of petal pink cardstock, and I ran it through a different embossing folder again, and I can't remember the name of that one, but if you're interested, let me know, and I'll hang on, it's just here, wait a sec. Okay, it is called Distressed Tile 3D embossing folder. I use this one a lot. It's gives things a lovely sort of aged look. And with the colour that I started sponging on here and the leaves, I thought that looked really beautiful. So, but I also did, and I think this would make a lovely wedding or engagement card, I did white cardstock in that corrugated one again, and I ran an ink pad across it in basic beige. So it just kind of caught the lumps of the corrugated cardstock there, and that with some gold twine on it, I thought probably without the colouring of the flower would make a beautiful wedding or engagement card. But so I just thought I'd show you all those different ideas, but I think I'm tossing up between the black or the petal pink. I'll use the black another day. I'll definitely use it, but I'll do the pink today, I think, with the gold twine. So I'm going to actually stick that down now because we don't need to do anything else to that. Which way do I want that to go up? I want it to go that way. When you're putting adhesive on embossing folders, just bear in mind, because it's a lumpy surface to glue, use a little bit more adhesive than what you normally would. So I wouldn't normally use that much liquid glue on a piece like that, but that just gives it a much better stick. Okay, so that's right down in the middle there. And the other good thing about that liquid glue is you do have a few seconds to move it around before it dries. Sorry, I just bumped you again. So I'll just give that a gentle rub on the back. I don't want to flatten that embossing folder, so I don't want to rub too hard. Okay, so this one I might actually make vertically instead of portrait instead of landscape. Let's have a look. I've still got to sponge the flowers, so let's have a look. Which way will I do that. If I do it portrait, I could do it off to the side like that. Yeah, I might do that, I think. Okay, so let's bring our paper back and just so I've got some, don't make a mess. And I actually started sponging this in Calypso Coral. So Calypso Coral and Petal Pink are really good companion colours. They go really well together. And I've got a sponge dauber here somewhere. Oh, where would that sponge dauber be? Away, haven't I? Now I could use my blending brush for this, but I actually don't want to add colour all over. I just want to add little highlights of colour. So just lightly dabbing that on. I'm happy to leave some white space, and I just keep putting that on there to see how I'm going. Might get my tweezers out again for that, which are right here, just so I can easily put that down. So some bits have got a little bit more colour on it, some less. Yep, I'm really happy with that. And then in the middle piece, I really just want to touch it here and there. Again, with the sponge daubers, the same as the blending brush. When you dip it in your ink, dab it off so that you're not going to get a big splodge on your project. And I'm kind of following those gold lines as a bit of a guide as to where I want the colour to go. Now I know traditionally the centre of a flower would be a stronger colour than the outside of the flower, but yeah, I just like that effect of still having some bits of white showing. So yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I don't want to overwhelm the card. In fact, this area here, which I was a bit heavy-handed on, if I do that again, I'd probably go a little bit lighter. But again, entirely how you want it to look. And the same thing as I did before, I'm going to get rid of that paper. I'm going to get my dimensionals out again. And just pop up those same ones that I did before. So I've already got one half ready to stick down on that piece. And it was this little piece over here as well. And I think it was this little piece as well. I might even cut that up, cut that in half again. For that spot. There we go. Don't waste him. And my liquid glue. Just being careful again not to overdo it. I find dotting it on is really helpful when you don't want much to come out, just rather than squeezing it and running it along, just dot it. Okay. And I think about there. Pushing all those edges down. There we go, we've got that lovely dimension again. And if you're worried about having too much dimension on your cards for postage, in Australia, I always cut a piece of cardstock and lay it over the top of my card when I'm posting it, so that it protects it a little bit. But they still fit in with a standard envelope and with just one stamp postage. So you can have a fair bit of dimension before, an awful lot of dimension before you need to pay more postage. So I'm going to get my gold twine again, and I'm going to have a fair bit more gold twine this time. But what I'll do is I'll stick this down first, and I'm just going to use my liquid glue rather than the tear and tape that they provided. So it's just my favourite glue. I can keep the tear and tape for something else. Okay, and it was about there. So I've only put glue on that centrepiece. You don't need to put glue on all the leaves as well. And I'll work out where my twine wants to go. Do those colours look pretty together? Okay, I think I probably want a couple of loops out here and maybe one out here, I think. So what I might do down the bottom, before I cut that, I might just, yeah. So I just wrapped that around my fingers and twisted it. So it just makes it a little bit easier to work with. I'll just hold that with my tweezers again while I'm working out placement of that. Yeah, I think about there. That's gonna, let's just try that again. Yep. Get the tear and tape again. I'll just make sure the flower is actually going to cover up that join. The middle of the flower, twine. I hope you're having a good day. I think we'll all be ready for a bit of a break after this one. Okay, that's now stuck to my fingers, but okay, yeah, that's going to show, isn't it? Of course it is. So the white's not going to show because it will it'll be peeled off, but it'll have some exposed sticky. So what I'll do is put it, I'll get this again, and I want it to go underneath this petal here. So flip that over. Down there like that, and then if it's not all stuck down, I can just manipulate that. I can always put another piece over the top like we did before on the last card, just to make sure that's all stuck down. Perfect. Okay, so that's just a little bit poking through there, and then I'll put one more piece up the top there, a smaller piece, I think. Just a smaller piece under there. Yeah, just have a single loop coming out from, so I'll do the same thing and put a piece of tear and tape under this petal here, I think. Yep. Oops, that petal. Getting my petals mixed up. Actually cross underneath between those two. Should cover it beautifully. Now, I actually like my ends showing when my ends of my twine showing, so no, not in this case, sorry. Just want that to be about there. Okay, now I just need another piece of tape to hold that. Maybe that's, maybe not. I can have my ends showing there. No, actually I like the ends showing when it's put on like this, but that single loop, no, I'm thinking I won't have my ends showing there, so I'll just make sure that's, yeah, I do need just a little bit more to cover that, just to hold that in place, and then I'll cut those ends off. Oh, sorry, bumped you again. Sorry about that. It's hard to work sometimes with a camera right near your hands and your head. Yep, I'm happy with that. Might just manipulate these ones down a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and once again, I'll just put a few normal dimensionals on the back of that. I don't need lots of big thick stuff on this one. Maybe just, there we go, that'll do. As I said before, I generally use more dimensionals than a lot of people, but I'd rather things don't sag in the middle and are sitting up nicely. And if I'm going to give this card to someone, I don't want it to fall apart. So we want that to be about there, I think. Yeah, happy with that. Give that a good press. And just trim those ends off a little bit, but I do like seeing the ends in that case down the bottom there a little bit. There we go. I didn't give that one a good crease, so I'll just need to be a bit careful with my bone folder there. And I think I'll save this one for a sympathy greeting, so I won't put a greeting on that one yet, but I hope you like that one too. So I'll stop this video and please join me for part 2. See you soon. Bye.